For my regular YouTube audience, you know what you need to do next to get to the information that you want from this video. But for those who are new to my channel, here are some key points to help you work best with the information in this video. Number 1. Timestamps and other important information can be found in the description to this video. Number 2. The dates of the energies that are unfolding in the week ahead are in the introduction section of this video. Number 3. The degrees of current planet placements and their location in signs are also in the introduction section of this video. Number 4. I'm a personal astrologer giving a general astrology reading in this video. For some people it will resonate. For others, it will not this week due to the influence of planets in your own personal horoscope. It may vary from week to week how much my forecast will resonate with you. If you would like a reading with me to explore your own chart further, the link is also in the description for this video. Number 5. I am using the traditional system of whole sign astrology for my analysis in this video. Number 6. By listening to the introduction, it's going to help you know what's in store for you this week. And then you can go to your sun, moon, and rising signs for more information on what to expect specifically. Number 7. I use both Vedic and Western astrology techniques with what is known as the tropical astrology chart, or, for those who aren't aware, the Western astrology chart. Please explore the placement of your Western or tropical astrology sun, moon, and rising signs using the timestamps for this video. Number 8. Haters and hateful comments will be removed from this video. This is a safe space for everyone who visits here, and like a good bouncer at a nightclub would do, I will eject any haters from this platform. And now here's a final couple of tidbits of information for you about how to use this video. Astrology is not designed to scare you. It's designed to give you information so that you know what the good and the challenging energies in the week ahead will be, and you can therefore consciously work with them to the best of your advantage. Remember, knowledge is power. Now there are scammers about, and so if you should receive a message from me on any platform requesting your money for a reading, know that it is a scam. Report them immediately. And now settle in and let's see what the astral skies have in store for the week ahead. Hello astrology lovers, and welcome to our special eclipse video. We are looking this week at the effects of the September full moon eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces, and this is occurring on the 17th or the 18th of September depending on where you are in the world. So welcome. Can I encourage you to please share this video amongst other astrology lovers? You know something, true astrologers on YouTube are actually increasingly being targeted by an algorithm that wants only fluffy astrology and fluffy astrologers on YouTube, not the true, deep, ancient wisdom that is being revealed by myself and other true astrology lovers and teachers, and we need your help. We need your help to keep true astrology available on YouTube. So what you can do to help us out is like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. For any true astrologers on YouTube, like myself, like Lada Don Shiva, Crassia Tassio, Chris Brennan, Pam Gregory, all the astrologers that are putting out the deep information, not just fluffy sun signs and shallow type astrology. We need your support, quite simply. We need your support to maintain a presence here on YouTube and to keep giving you the regular content that you all love. So thank you for being our supporters out there in YouTube land. Now, in this video about the eclipse, I'm going to be talking about the nature of lunar eclipses, because that's what this particular eclipse will be. A full moon eclipse is a lunar eclipse, so we're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at the general full moon in Pisces type of energy. the chart of this particular eclipse and all the energies playing into this eclipse that's making it effectual in a certain way. We're going to look at the Saros cycle of this particular eclipse. We'll also explore the lunar mansion of this particular eclipse and what effect that will be having as well. We're going to look at where this eclipse is going to be visible upon the earth and what that means for the countries where it is visible. And we're going to be exploring what it means to have key planets in your chart in a conjunction with this eclipse. So finally, at the end of all that juicy, good teaching in astrology, we are going to be exploring the effects of this eclipse for each sign. And we're going to have a massive all signs breakdown. So much to share with you. I'm feeling exhausted already. But before we begin, my Patreon family members will be getting an extended personal all signs breakdown for this report. They're going to, get the meat, the real substance of what will be happening for each sign. We're going to be exploring in my Patreon family how the eclipse is going to affect you personally in greater depth than I've got time to go into here on YouTube. So join the Patreon family, my friends. Again, support true in-depth astrology by joining me at the Patreon family. And the link's in the description below if you'd like to do that. You can join for a month, you can join for a year, you can join indefinitely. You'll learn so much. There's always new fabulous information and gifts and sessions and workshops there for you to participate in. You'll be so richly blessed by joining the Guiding Star Patreon family. And you can support the future production of videos here on YouTube by becoming a patron. And now let's dive right in. We are looking at an eclipse here at 25 degrees of Pisces. Let me draw a little star there. That will be important later. And I'll note down that it's 25 degrees of Pisces. So, lunar eclipses, full moon eclipses, they trigger events usually within a week either side of the eclipse in traditional Western terminology. Like our understanding in Western astrology is that a week before and a week after will trigger an eclipse event if it's likely to cause an event in your life. There are other traditions. My teachers have taught me other traditions that basically amount to the fact that we've been in this eclipse season, eclipse period, since the 5th of September. That's the analysis that I would tend to align with most of all. And of course, following on from this eclipse, we will be roughly 2 weeks in this eclipse season at the same time as we're moving into the solar eclipse that will be occurring. So that's the time frame that we're looking at. And I'll be talking more about that in next week's video, exploring the eclipse gateway, that intermediary period between one eclipse and another. Very powerful period that we're now entering into, the eclipse gateway. Catch me with next week's video to talk more about that. However, we should be keeping an eye out for significant events that might unfold during this time frame. 5th of September right through to 2 weeks after this particular eclipse can trigger events in our life. Now, just a bit on the astronomy of eclipses, it's very interesting to note that before an eclipse event actually occurs, there's a drop in the Earth's electromagnetic emissions. So scientifically, there's a recorded energetic change that eclipses bring about. In world astrology, otherwise known as mundane astrology, a lunar eclipse is purported to affect the masses, the people, the hoi polloi upon the planet, the 99.99% of us. Whereas solar eclipses, which are rarer than lunar eclipses are usually seen from about 50% of the area of the Earth. We'll explore this a little later in this video. But it's rarer to see a solar eclipse, and they affect the leadership. So we can expect when the solar eclipse or the new moon eclipse occurs to see shifts and changes of significance in political powers, in kingships, queenships, even leadership in companies and CEOs and that kind of thing. That's who gets mostly affected by a solar eclipse, whereas lunar eclipses tend to affect us all. So any changes that come with a lunar eclipse will tend also to be caused from the inside out. So inner changes energetically within us as a mass collective of people on the planet, but also as individuals. Inner changes will beget outer external changes in our lives and in our world, because the energy within us shifts, the external experience also changes. It's as within, so without. That's the Hermetic principle applied there. So ask yourself, since the 5th of September, what have you been feeling? What have your emotions been like? Where has your attention been drawn to? I would also ask you, what have you been letting go of during this period and wrangling with in your inner world since we last had a lunation? Basically, a new moon in Virgo was the last lunation 2 weeks ago. So what have you been What have you been dealing with? These are key themes that this eclipse is going to present, and where we might see changes and events unfold. So it behoves us to really pay attention to our lives, to our body, to our feelings, and everything that's going on around us. Some astrological texts actually indicate that a full moon eclipse like this is felt stronger by people who are born at night. Nighttime charts, nocturnal charts are governed by the moon more strongly than the sun, because let's face it, the sun's invisible during the night, but often the moon is up. So if you're born at night, then you may feel this full moon eclipse a lot stronger. In a full moon eclipse like this, a lunar eclipse, anything that finishes up, anything that ends in your life now will remain finished and closed to you. You won't go back. Full moons, when you think about it, they're full. They can't get any bigger, they can't get any rounder, they are at their max. And something in our life is at its maximum. From now on, it's either not going to be as important any longer, we're going to let go of it gradually, and we're going to say goodbye to something because it's reached its culminating point. So that is why I'm saying something is finished and it's going to remain closed to you. It's going to end. I will add also that this eclipse is being caused by a close alignment with the north node of the moon. You can see the north node here at 6 degrees of Aries. That's what's triggering this particular eclipse. And because of that, there will also be something new coming into your life. Eclipses triggered by the north node always bring something new and something some new experience, some new beginning into our lives. South node eclipses are often also associated with letting go. So what we're seeing here is a change within us that changes our external circumstances, where we end something and say goodbye to it, full moon, in order to welcome in a new circumstance. We'll explore that more fully as we go along in this video. So anything that finishes won't come back. The energy and intent of this eclipse is about realigning with your purpose for incarnation, because that's what the North Node is all about. It's our destiny point. It's where we're heading in our lives. So anything that is superfluous to your purpose and intent for being here in this incarnation, so long. See you later. Time to let go of that so that you can move more into your purpose and your destiny. The one thing we need to remember, though, when we are in the midst of eclipse season, and even I would suggest for the whole 6 months after an eclipse occurs, in other words, all the time, because roughly we have eclipses every 6 months, always remember to act with kindness, always remember to forgive, because often we're letting go of someone or something, as I've just explained, and maybe you're going to be the one that's being let go of. Or maybe you'll be the one letting go of somebody else. Be kind, be gracious, be forgiving. It's all okay. Things are triggered in this eclipse energy process to take us further into our destiny. Remember, my friends, we don't owe anyone anything other than to raise our children well and lovingly and make good people of them. That's about the only thing we owe anyone in this lifetime. Neither do they owe us anything other than to behave with kindness towards one another. This includes, my friends, kindness to ourselves, graciousness to ourselves. in whatever circumstances we're finding ourselves in life. Gotta love eclipses. They're great teachers, and they're very exciting times too as we see what unfolds. I would encourage you, allow in whatever needs to take place in your life, whatever that happens to look like for you. Don't fight it. Go with the flow, especially an eclipse in Pisces, which is all about going with the flow. If something is releasing out of your life right now, allow it. It's the correct time for it to go. Now, yes, it can be an emotional time, but remember, life's endings always herald life's new beginnings. You're turning over a new chapter of your book, about to start something fresh. And that's always quite exciting. So some of you might be receiving some news during this eclipse season, news of big life events that will affect you. That might come to you between the 5th of October and up to 2 weeks, as I said, after the eclipse occurs on the 17th or 18th of September, depending where you are in the world. So often you'll have some news, sometimes you'll have some random event occur that you didn't expect. You know, especially as this eclipse is falling with the North Node. The North Node is hungry. It can carry it does carry the energy of Uranus, surprising, shocking, unexpected. That's North Node energy. So don't expect everything to be, lulling and lullaby-like. No, it's going to be big Ferris wheels and fireworks and roller coasters. It's big, eventful time. So this energy with the North Node will also have the effect of liberating you in some area of life and guiding you back to your truth, where you have felt a little bit undirected, unfocused. You can be guided back onto the path through events and news and circumstances the eclipse brings about. Another thing that might happen with a lunar eclipse is that the true character of somebody might be revealed for the first time. And it's probably not going to be very pretty. Okay, so somebody's probably been wearing a mask in your life, pretending to be something wonderful, and you might be about to discover they're not all they're cracked up to be. And that can be very confronting. In many cases, in the situation of a lunar eclipse, it will be a woman that the veil, the mask, is torn away from. So don't be surprised, but remember graciousness, kindness, acting with love. Pay attention to all details and events, news, gossip, interactions in the eclipse season. Keep a diary, keep a journal if you'd like to. It's a helpful thing because this could be very important in your life, this 2-week period. It's very important to take note of anything new, anything out of the ordinary. Now, if this eclipse happens to be falling on your sun placement, if you're a Pisces sun person with your sun around 25 degrees, then this is happening at a point where it's going to really affect your future, the future year ahead for you. So keep that in mind. Now, if you're a Cancer rising person or a Cancer sun or a Cancer moon person, you are going to be more affected by this eclipse than others because guess what? The moon rules your sign. And in the case of a lunar eclipse, here's the moon. It's the moon that is the focal point. When we have a solar eclipse, it is the sun that is the focal point. So for anybody with Cancer strong in their chart, sun, moon, or rising sign, you will tend to feel this a lot more. It's a climatic time, eclipses, as all full moons are, but this is a full moon on steroids. And what unfolds now will be the climax of something that has been building in your life for possibly quite a while. In some cases, it could have been building for you for 18 years since we had the last set of eclipses as in this particular Saros cycle, which I'll talk about shortly, 18 years ago. So very, very powerful. What have you been working on for the last 18 years of your life that might be reaching its climatic point right now? Something to think about. Where were you 18 years ago and what was going on in your life way back then? Well, my friends, let's have a look at what it means to have, generally speaking, a full moon in Pisces and what that energy is like. Well, as I said, life is reaching a climatic peak point now. That happens every full moon, but it's, like I said, on steroids. Personally, and globally. So watch for significant events. If you look back through history, always significant events occur on eclipses. Always. From the sinking of the Titanic to the destruction of the Twin Towers in New York, you name it. Eclipses are what triggers the unfolding of events. So check out what's going on the news if you're that way inclined, and pay attention personally. But also, a full moon eclipse in Pisces means time for no more negativity, no more being a victim, no more saying poor me, poor me, poor me. It's time to excrete out of your life what isn't working, what's holding you back. Pisces is an energy that's very much about letting go of things. It's the final sign of the zodiac, and it is all about endings. Time to let go, my friends, and make space for the new. It's also possibly, new full moon in Pisces time, the time to end an argument or a disagreement. Let it go. Forgive, as is the nature of Pisces. Move on and just flow into the next phase of life. Sometimes though, Pisces energy, especially under a full moon, can mean we feel a bit paranoid. So be conscious of that. You might be seeing, ghosts around every corner, or feeling a little bit uncomfortable for no apparent reason. We can pay attention to those things because our psychic intuition is increased under this energy, but don't let it go into the realms of paranoia as best as you can. We will find that this is an intensely emotional time, this eclipse. It's a water sign. Water signs are connected to our emotions and our feelings. Pisces is extraordinarily sensitive, so expect to feel emotional. For some of you, it might be a blessed time as you experience some kind of emotional release and letting go. Again, there could be a releasing of people out of your life, but because it's in the sign of Pisces, I would suggest that these people that are going are toxic people, people that you need to say goodbye to, people that you need to draw a boundary with and say enough is enough. It ends here. So, if a relationship is ending as a result of this eclipse, full moon in Pisces, it's probably going to be ending in a very toxic way, be forewarned, forearmed, and it can really bite. So be conscious of this energy. Remember my voice, and remember, act with as much kindness as you can muster. It is an extremely intense energy. It's highly sensitized, a full moon in Pisces, highly emotional. Keep that in mind. Be kind to everyone. Be kind to yourself if you're feeling emotional and you just need a pajama day to cry it all out. You have my permission. Not that you need it. Let's have a look at the chart of this eclipse. And I'm using 5-degree orbs here. Things falling within 5 degrees of 25 degrees of Pisces. Well, it's eclipse time yet again. And the first eclipse in Pisces for 9 years. So we had the South Node in Pisces 9 years ago. Now we are about to have the North Node moving into Pisces in the coming weeks and months. And I'll be talking about that when it happens. Currently, the North Node is in Aries, but it is whenever you have a lunation, a full moon or a new moon within 12.5 degrees of a node, it will cause a lunar eclipse. And so that's why this is a lunar eclipse in Pisces, even though the North Node is in Aries. But it's the first eclipse that we're having in Pisces for 9 years. The South Node was the cause of the eclipses 9 years ago there. This time it's the North Node. So that's the difference. But these themes that we were having in our life 9 years ago will be coming back. So 18 years ago, we've talked about that, and 9 years ago are important life themes. Have a think, pause the video, write down what comes to mind. Where were you at 9 years ago? This is actually what the focus will be. Whatever you were dealing with 9 years ago and 18 years ago, this is going to be the focus for the next roughly 2 years as the eclipses move into the Pisces-Virgo axis during this time. So that's worth noting. As I said, there'll be an upcoming video on my channel exploring the movement of the nodes into Pisces-Virgo when they actually change signs. But This eclipse, as I've said, is focused on starting something new and welcoming something into your life because it's being triggered by the North Node. However, there will be something in your life reaching an end, reaching a culmination, and the end of the road for something in your life because it is a culminating moon, a full moon. We have an orb though, it's quite a wide orb of 11 degrees from the node. Remember I said you need 12.5 degrees to trigger an eclipse? Well, this one is 11 degrees, so it's quite a wide orb from the node, and that means it's called a partial lunar eclipse. And because this eclipse is in Pisces, it turns our focus towards our dreams, our imaginings, our visioning. Our intuition is heightened. It's more empowered. We can more effectively meditate and seek guidance from the divine, from our angels, from our guides, from our higher self, for any difficult circumstances we're experiencing in our life. So it's a great time to meditate, to pray, to go for walks in nature or by the beach, and really feel into what does the divine want me to know? What does it want me to understand now? Pisces eclipses are also really good for connecting with our soul tribe, members of our soul tribe. Now, sometimes that can mean you'll meet a soulmate. Sometimes that can mean it's a romantic partner. Sometimes that means it could be that your soulmate is a little child in this lifetime. You just have this connection, this bond with a child, or maybe an elderly person, somebody of the opposite sex to you. It doesn't have to always mean that your soul tribe family member is a romantic interlude, but you might be connecting with somebody that you feel a deep resonance with and a soul recognition with. That is special and that is precious. Now, this eclipse, 25 degrees of Pisces, it's not really within orb of Saturn if I'm using 5-degree orbs. So Saturn is also in Pisces, but too far away to be making an actual conjunction by degree. So we're not talking about Saturn, even though Saturn is present in Pisces. What we are going to be talking about is the influence of Jupiter, the traditional ruler of this sign, Pisces, and Neptune, the modern ruler. Let's look at their influences because they're the two key planets tying into this eclipse. They're the two key planets making aspects to this eclipse, and they're the two key planets that rule this eclipse. So they're very important. Jupiter is at 20 degrees of Gemini, making a square aspect to the eclipse. Now this means because of a square aspect, which is a difficult aspect, 90 degrees, that we might be overly affected by our feelings, too much in our emotions. We might be overindulging in sensual pleasures as a result of this eclipse energy as well, eating too much chocolate, drinking too much wine, just having a good time and lacking the discipline that we need to have a balanced life. Keep that in mind. Jupiter overblown energy can come to bear in this eclipse as well. We might be prioritizing the satiation of our cravings. We can't resist that last bit of chocolate cake. We can't help ourselves, but, buy that other pair of shoes. We are a bit prone to giving in and, as I said, lacking discipline. We can also be a bit hungry for emotional security during this eclipse as well, wanting to, plant our feet on solid ground, so to speak, and we might run to the wrong places to do so. So be very conscious, be very aware. We can use poor judgment tied into that. We can act on impulse as a result of this. We might be giving our affections to one another too easily, and then being hurt and then being wounded because something goes wrong and our affections, which we've given freely out of the goodness of our heart, are taken for granted. We might be deceived. We might be let down. We can have some minor problems with women. I've already touched on that, perhaps being one of the outcomes of this eclipse. There can be unfulfilled promises, unrealistic expectations of partners, friends, family, and so on, but mostly of the women in our lives, because this moon is lunar focused, female focused. There can be difficulty with religious or spiritual teachers now. So maybe time to lay low from that sort of thing and just trust your own guidance, your own intuition, your own wisdom, rather than looking to someone else now. Beware of spending too much. Beware of overextending yourself as well. We can be more vulnerable. We can be more gullible. We're much more impressionable as a result of Jupiter's aspect to this eclipse. So try, my friends, to exercise more discipline, more routine, and more self-control under this energy. Now that's Jupiter. Neptune down here is also in a conjunction with the eclipse as well. And Neptune's at the 28th degree of Pisces and is part of an important minor grand trine that I spoke about 2 videos ago. And this minor grand trine is really protecting humanity right now. Please refer back to that video if you want to find out more. I had a lot to say about that back then, so I'm not going to go into it now in great detail. But the conjunction with the eclipse from Neptune means we might struggle with emotional boundaries, we need to put some boundaries in place. We need to say enough is enough, but we struggle with it. It feels hard to do that. It feels hard to draw the line. And I want to encourage you, act with consciousness, listen to your heart. You know what's right. You know what action to take. But there's going to be that feeling of I can't do this when it comes to putting boundaries in place with other people. We might have some overwhelming moods. Again, we've got this emotional energy that this eclipse is bringing. We might feel extraordinarily compassionate and sensitive. You know, that feeling when, you're watching animals on telly and, maybe they're hurt or wounded and you just, start to cry. And that feeling of heightened sensitivity is so present with this eclipse. And we want to help the world in whatever ways we can right now. And we might even feel a little bit helpless because the task is so big and so enormous. Do what we can, my friends. You might not cope very well with any stress or strain or struggle. Even practical concerns might be very difficult to deal with as a result of the energy of this eclipse right now. We are feeling the harshness of our difficult earthly life very deeply. Those of us who are Piscean by nature know this. It's so awful to look around and see how destroyed humanity is when we know it could be so much better. And that really weighs heavily on the heart of a Pisces person. And you're going to be feeling that whether you're Pisces or not as a result of Neptune in conjunction with this eclipse in the sign that it rules, Pisces in modern astrology. Now, other people's judgments of us can deeply affect us, deeply ruin our confidence now. Keep that in mind and don't buy into it. Don't let the need to please other people enter into your life. Own your life, own your independence. Don't fall prey to the judgments of others if you can help it. Self-discovery and personal growth can really happen in this eclipse in the positive through love. And I'm not talking necessarily about romantic love. I'm talking about loving acts of kindness, loving acts of, like you've got a pet and it loves you unconditionally. You might learn a lot from that pet. You might grow a lot from your observation of your cat or your dog or your fish and its unconditional love of you. Not necessarily the romantic type of love, just love, brotherly love with one another and with all of nature. We're also refining our perceptions through whatever happens during this eclipse, and any uncomfortable components of our psyche, our psychology, they're brought to the surface for us to untangle them and deal with them. So you might be confronted by your own inner demons, but that's okay. It's going to give you the chance to work through them, release them, heal them, and let them go. You will have a greater, finer appreciation of beauty because of what this eclipse is doing, and your enjoyment of culture can be heightened because Neptune is connected to refined culture. You might have a very fertile imagination right now and might be inclined to want to glam it up a bit. Hello, I've got my sparkly top on, totally this energy. There's this desire to be a bit fanciful and imaginative and glamorous, which are qualities of Neptune. You might also be interested in yoga, astrology, metaphysics, mysticism, all those things can really tickle your fancy as a result of this eclipse, and those interests might even last you for the next 6 months, and I hope they do. You might be very much open to enjoying some sort of spiritual experience or ecstatic experience as a result of the energy and events of this eclipse. It's not a very good energy, though, for domestic concerns and practical pieces of everyday life. You know, fixing that door on leaning on its hinge, not going to be your biggest priority as a result of this eclipse, when you'd rather be, you know, putting on your sparkly top and going having an ecstatic spiritual experience somewhere, you know. This is the balance that perhaps needs to be employed. It's an energy, again, Neptune in a conjunction with the moon, that can bring about problems with your mother or problems with women or mother figures in general. So we're seeing a lot of influences here that are affecting the feminine, and not necessarily the feminine in the mass on the planet, I would say, but more on a personal level. We need to also be very careful of being deceived by women for the next 2 weeks, but I would also say for the next 6 months, and think about that when it comes to certain situations in countries around the world. I won't say any more than that. You might be particularly open to being deceived by others right now. It could be a boss, it could be a friend, it could be a sister. You know, somebody might exploit you or take advantage of your innocence and gullibility, which is very Neptunian. Some of you listening to this, particularly if you've got planets interacting with this eclipse, you might feel a bit physically delicate, physically frail. You might be more susceptible to illness as a result of this eclipse. And I would encourage you to get rest, avoid conflicts, avoid stress, avoid toxic situations, and avoid toxic substances, because Pisces does have connections with those things. And so you want to really release that sort of stuff out of your life as much as you're capable of doing. It is a good time for privacy. It's a good time for seclusion. It's a good time for meditation, and really inner reflection is encouraged as a result of Neptune in conjunction with this eclipse. You probably have a strong urge to escape the world in some way, to run away. Maybe, you know, run away on holiday, or go to the movies, or, you know, book in at a day spa and just get away from the harshness of everyday reality. I encourage you to do that in some sort of healthy way. You might be getting some prophetic dreams, prophetic visions. Have a dream journal beside your bed for just such an occasion. Now, in a practical sense, Neptune in conjunction with a lunar eclipse can cause trouble in some people's homes when it comes to gas, oil, or water issues. And if you've got a swimming pool, and let's say this eclipse is falling on your IC, you might want to check your swimming pool is, you know, crack free and the filters are all clean and everything's all right, because sometimes swimming pool issues can crop up when Neptune is tied into these things, as well as gas, oil, and water issues in the home themselves. Okay. Some people become a bit lazy when Neptune's involved in an eclipse like this, but it probably needs to be triggering maybe your ascendant or descendant, I would suggest, and maybe even midheaven or IC, that you might see that happen with. And some people might have trouble with bodily fluids and even with their eyes as a result of this eclipse energy, particularly if it's happening on your ascendant or the 6th house manifestation point. So you might have more physical responses to this eclipse if you've got it triggering those points in the chart. Now, that's the rulers of this eclipse and how they're affecting things. But this eclipse will also be making a sextile, and I don't talk much about sextiles in my reports, but a sextile to Pluto and to Uranus, and that is what is creating this minor grand trine that I mentioned in a video 2 videos ago. You'll find it in the astrology Astro Weather Report playlist. Go back 2 videos ago and you'll find a discussion all about this minor grand trine made from these planets that is protecting us, guarding us, holding space for humanity by the divine It is a blessed energy, and I'm so grateful that it's part of this eclipse. It will allow us to navigate through the more challenging components of this eclipse that I've talked about and will continue to talk about here in this video. And it will allow us to navigate through those things and come out the other side feeling that we've progressed, that we've got wiser, that we are now in a better place, thanks to this minor grand trine. Now, although it is not a ruling planet of this eclipse, Mars, over here in Cancer, where it will be retrograding before, over the next 8 months, it's going to be here and doing a retrograde and forward motion. Mars is the only planet in this eclipse chart that is out of bounds, beyond the declination of the sun for this eclipse. And that means that the chart of this eclipse, which carries forward for the next 6 months until we have another lunar eclipse, will carry an out of bounds Mars in it. And this means that we will tend to see heightened passions in the world around us during the next 6 months. You know, despite Pisces' usual reputation for peace and harmony, you know, this, if it doesn't feel very peaceful over the next 6 months, this out of bounds Mars in this eclipse chart is the reason why. I just want you to know Mars is going to that extreme. And I've got so much more to say about Mars in upcoming videos when Mars goes retrograde. Mars is such an important planet in the solar system. In my astrology discussions playlist, you will find a recent video all about Mars and how it could very well be the most important planet in the solar system. It's worth checking that video out if you want to understand Mars a little bit more. Now, this eclipse is also conjunct the fixed star Markab in Pisces. Markab is at 23 degrees and 29 minutes of Pisces, so it's within 2 degrees of the 25-degree eclipse. We only allow a 2-degree orb when we are looking at fixed stars because they're just too far away to have any more of an orb than that. So Markab falls within that framework. Now, the traditional name Markab derives from the Arabic word which means the saddle of the horse. The saddle of Pegasus, actually, is where Markab is found. Do you remember earlier this year we had an Algol conjunction in the head of the Medusa constellation? That was Uranus and Jupiter coming together at that point. Very, very powerful. My mistake, sorry. Uranus and Mars coming together at that point. Very, very powerful. Well, this same constellation of Medusa, Perseus, Pegasus, that whole mythological story is playing into this eclipse through the fixed star Markab. Here I've drawn it on the board, which is projected onto the ecliptic plane from the saddle of the winged horse Pegasus. Now, to my mind, this has connotations of transformation and freedom. So check out the incredible video that my husband, David Warner Matheson, and I collaborated on. It's titled Algol in it was an Astro Weather Report that I did that for. So look back, it's not too far back in the list. And it's all about this amazing mythology and the implications for humanity at this point in time. Very powerful. It will allow you to see this whole constellation through new eyes with a new understanding of how powerful and liberating and freeing it actually is, and transformative. So although this mythology that I've just been talking about points to freedom, the star Markab is traditionally connected with things like violence. It's known as the star of sorrow. But it does have some good things too. It is connected to honors and riches. Sometimes legal problems though. It's a very literary star, so often people with this planet strong in their chart will be good with literature and interested in literature, maybe interested also in mythologies and ancient texts. Now, because this this star also carries the nature of Mars with Mercury, it is considered to be a star that can cause an increase in propaganda. Oh my goodness, get ready, my friends. You can see some of the playing out that we are expecting in the next 6 months coming out of this. You see it already in the world. You see the media organizations dishing out the propaganda left, right, and center. So this is another reason why, because this fixed star is being triggered in this eclipse. Now, in mundane astrology, which is world astrology, Pegasus is associated, the constellation of Pegasus where this star falls is associated with things like drowning, accidents, catastrophes, earthquakes, tsunamis, storms, floods, shipwrecks, mining accidents, airplane accidents, falling accidents, horses, jockeys, transportation, communications, space travel, exploration, pioneering, science, and heroism. Oh my gosh, what a list associated in the medieval texts with the constellation Pegasus. But my dear friends out there in YouTube land and Patreon land, there is no need to be afraid. Remember what I spoke of 2 videos ago. We are divinely protected by the minor grand trine tying into this eclipse. The outer planets have got our back, my friends. The world, it is indeed changing rapidly. But remember, keep your vibration high, uplift others, spread love and kindness wherever and however you can. We really have got this, as they say. So, my friends, do you have planets at 25 degrees of Pisces? Were you born during the night? Do you have strong Cancer placements in your chart? Remember, Cancer is very much associated with the lunar eclipse because the moon rules Cancer. Well, think about those things. Think about everything I've described, how those themes that I've just gone through might be playing out specifically in your life right now. You've probably already seen hints of it, my friends. Another thing I want to talk about when it comes to the chart of this eclipse is that the eclipse is falling in the lunar mansion number 28, the final lunar mansion, Bat al-Hut. It's an Arabic lunar mansion, and that name means the belly of the fish. According to ancient literature, the belly of the fish lunar mansion is good for anything. So an eclipse occurring here is good for anything to do with planting, anything to do with growing, anything to do with healing. It's excellent for any existing partnerships, be they business partnerships and collaborations or marriages, good for existing partnerships. But if, according to the ancient literature, if a new relationship starts as a result of an eclipse in this particular lunar mansion, the belly of the fish, it might start really well and be drawn together in a strong way, but it is likely to come to a sudden and unexpected end. Be aware that that's the case if there is a relationship that starts, business partnership, committed romantic relationship, all of these things. Ancient literature says be very wary of it coming to a sudden end. It's also, according to the ancient literature, not a good time for lending or for borrowing in this period of the eclipse season in this lunar mansion. What about the Saros cycle? I can hear you all saying, I love to talk about the Saros cycles at eclipse time. Well, the Lunar Saros series, they are about 800 years long, and they tend to begin at the equator, and they contain about 45 to 47 eclipses, lunar eclipses that is, per series, whereas the solar Saros series, so the new moon eclipses that are in the same family, they have about 1,400 years of length, and they tend to begin at the north or the south pole. So they're different. New moon eclipses in their extended series are different to full moon eclipses that are also part of the same series. So I hope that makes sense to people, a little bit of astronomy there for you. As I've already mentioned in this video, outside an orb of 12 degrees and 15 minutes from the nodes, you can't have a lunar eclipse. It doesn't take place. So lunar eclipses have their own Saros series, although information on astrological lunar Saros series are very, very hard to find. I'll let you know that NASA has a Saros series regarding lunar eclipses, but it's different. It's not the astrological information, and it won't give you what you need to know. But I just want you to be aware, lunar eclipses are still part of the same Saros cycle as the solar eclipse series. They connect, they join in, they're part of the same family. And this particular solar Saros family, this set of 1,400 eclipses began on the 1st of April, 1718, and it's going to finish on the 30th of April, 2962. So we're only just getting started with this eclipse series. It's got a long way to go, my friends. So this series of eclipses, remember, this Saros series repeats every 18 years, not every 19 years. That's called the Metonic cycle, not the Saros cycle, two different things. So this Saros cycle of eclipses that repeats every 18 years carries the energy of the initial eclipse series in the chart. So it always, every repeating 18 years will carry the energy of that first initial eclipse on the 1st of April 1718. And the energy of that particular eclipse had tones to do with these themes: separation and loss, parting and ending, saying goodbye to something. Something is finishing up. We've already talked about that being the case with eclipses in general, but it's also here in the Saros cycle. So something is finishing up and we are sorry to see it go. We're sad to see an ending. So it's not a yay, party on, I finished this project kind of a thing, or yay, we're leaving this house to move into a better house. No, we're sorry to say goodbye to our old house. We're sad to see that project come to an end because we really enjoyed working on it. And now the end is nigh. So something's finishing up as a result of this Saros cycle. Also, my friends, remember, don't push yourself, because this eclipse can see us prone to physical strain as a result of the Saros cycle that began this eclipse series. The Saros chart that began this eclipse series. So I wanted to share that with you. The Saros cycles are very, very, very powerful. Now I want to have a look at where this eclipse will be visible on the Earth and what it means. So I'm going to show you some footage from the website Time and Date. Wonderful, wonderful resource for seeing eclipses. And it has, you'll see that it has this eclipse has a very wide path covering all of South America, the eastern states of the USA and the provinces of Canada, and the western countries of Africa. So my friends, if you live in those areas, you can expect that there's going to be some influence on your life as the eclipse will take place over your country. You may even be able to go and see it. Some people suggest that's not a good idea. My jury is out on that. Use your own inner wisdom and guidance and intuition about whether you want to go out and have a look at the lunar eclipse. It is only a partial one, so it won't be a full lunar eclipse in this particular state. And I should have pointed out a long time ago in this video actually, but as you can see, a full moon eclipse is caused by the fact that here is the Earth in the Guiding Star logo here, and we are sitting between the sun and the moon, and the sun shining will shine the Earth's shadow onto the moon, and that is what causes a lunar eclipse. Solar eclipses are caused by something completely different. So that is why, and I'll draw a line here, that is why we're having an eclipse. The Earth is in the way of the sun shining on the moon. So you're going to be able to see it if you are in those countries that I mentioned: South America, Eastern USA, provinces of Canada, Eastern provinces of Canada, and the Western countries of Africa. So enjoy. I'm going to show it to you now. now we're going to look at planets in your personal chart that are conjunct with this eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces. But this is a special section of this video that's only available for my Patreon family. So if you're not a Patreon member and you've got your Sun, your Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto here at this point, then do head over to the Patreon family and find out what it means for you. And now it's time to dive right into our breakdown of what is going to be the effect of this eclipse for all signs. And of course, this eclipse is occurring on the 17th or 18th of September, depending where you are in the world. 18th for Australasia. And as we go further back towards America, going back through India, Africa, Europe, then to America, we hit the 17th of September. So I can't break it down for everybody because it's happening at different times, but you can certainly Google it and find out exactly when it's occurring exactly in your part of the world. 25 degrees of Pisces is the location. So we're going to start with Pisces. And this is where we can expect to see some sudden changes in our life, something reaching the end of the line, end of the road, about to make way for something new in our life, something new to begin. We might feel a bit sad about this. And we can also be very conscious of stress and illness and the need to take time out as well. This is what the area of our chart where we will feel very sensitive emotionally and where we might be releasing toxic life situations and toxic people. So for Pisces people, this is happening in the first house. And of course, this has to do with you, Pisces. So it's not other people who are toxic that you're releasing. It's any toxic thoughts, behaviors, ideas, attitudes that you carry that you need to let go of. They can be released now. And I'd use this energy to your advantage, Pisces, by praying, by meditating, speaking to Spirit about what it is you want to release and how to go about it. Spirit wants to support you, and it will right now. But it's your baggage, Pisces, that is needing to be released and excreted, if you like, so that you can make a brand new start in life. And this eclipse is here to help. Absolutely here to help. Do be careful of illness. Pisces can be illness or injury to the feet, but it can also represent any illnesses that come from toxicity. So, eating chicken and getting salmonella or other things like that are a result of toxic, like, alcohol poisoning or overdoses of something. Just be really careful about those types of related illnesses, Pisces. Now, because this is occurring on the relationship axis for Pisces people, sun, moon, or rising sign, an eclipse that's occurring on the relationship axis, particularly for those who have their rising degree at 25 degrees where the eclipse is taking place, you might find that your relationships are impacted. Maybe they're suddenly ending and concluding, or maybe a relationship is beginning in some way. So this can be endings or beginnings. You'll feel sad about any endings, as we've talked about. New beginnings will still feel very exciting and thrilling because new beginnings usually do feel that way, but the endings might feel a little bit grievous, a little bit sad. So that goes for not only marriage relationships, but it can also mean other kinds of relationships like business partnerships. Maybe you've been 10 years with the same advertising firm and you've got great friends there and they've been really good for your business, but it's time to move on. It's time to get with somebody who's more hip with the social media market and the algorithms that need to be addressed and so on. And so you're finding someone more appropriate to, but ending a relationship, a business partnership that actually suited your needs for the time period that you were involved with them. These sorts of things can be represented by this axis. Now, first house is our appearance, how we look. And for many Pisces people, there will be some changes being made to your appearance, to your image, to your aura, to your presence in some manner, Pisces. As a Pisces rising person, this is not my degree, I don't have any planets there, but it can still affect me. Maybe the next time you see me, I'll be very different. Maybe I have a shorter haircut, or maybe I'll be wearing different style of clothing or doing my makeup differently, because this eclipse, for some people, can trigger the need to make changes in appearance. For others, it can also be about protecting your existence in some way, or surviving and thriving in a new way. So there might be some circumstance that's triggered in your life that causes you to need to protect how you are surviving and thriving. So it could relate to your career, because obviously a career is a source of income that helps us to survive and thrive. First house is our ability to be a pioneer, to be entrepreneurial, to survive and thrive in the world. So there might be some changes made to any Pisceans who are entrepreneurs, who are surviving off their own wits and their own skills and their own instincts in life. So that can be somebody with a small business. It can be somebody with a side hustle. It could be just somebody, maybe somebody who is in a partnership where they have been homesteading, for example, and doing their own thing to survive and thrive. So there could be some upheaval with that, a shift with that, a change with those kinds of situations. And if that's what happens, just know it's to take you further into your destiny. For example, if you are protecting, surviving, thriving through growing your own vegetables, maybe this eclipse might bring about, in Australia, it's spring, could be a severe and unexpected frost at this time of year, and it kills all your tomato plants or something. So you've got to grow something else this season, and it's springtime, so of course you've got plenty of time to do so, to put something new in, and instead you end up with a wonderful crop of something else that suits your needs perhaps better, that takes you more into what you're meant to be doing in order to survive and thrive. So I've used a garden explanation, but it can be anything. Maybe something changes and ends with your career or your side hustle or your small business, and you have to change the way you're doing things, the way you're advertising, the way you're marketing, the algorithm that you're using, the projects that you're working on. There might be a need to readjust as a result of this eclipse so that you can continue to survive and thrive in the world. First house is all about survival and thriving. There can be sudden changes in life, and I've kind of already alluded to this, sudden changes that you experience that cause you to become more entrepreneurial. I remember years ago I had an eclipse occur in a significant point of my chart that caused me to walk away from a very hierarchical career and to start my own entrepreneurial endeavors. And, I've always been a bit geared that way. And it was an eclipse that triggered a need for that to happen again and sort of pull myself up by my bootstraps. And it worked. And I'm thankful for that eclipse, but it was really tough at the time, like where's my next meal coming from kind of thing. So there can be some sudden changes that might be happening now that are going to cause you to need to develop your entrepreneurism, Pisces. And let's face it, Pisces people are actually very entrepreneurial. The reason being is that they have fire signs in all their houses of work and money. 10th house career, 6th house of everyday work, 2nd house of resources and creating your own resources. So we have a lot of get up and go. People will tell you Pisces is lazy. They're not. They have a lot of fire when it comes to entrepreneurism because of this fire energy in these trinal houses. Very important. Now also an eclipse on the ascendant is very healing, can be very therapeutic, can restore the soul, can restore the life purpose, can restore meaning to life, could even restore joy where joy has been lost. So in that sense, this is a good eclipse, especially protected by these 3 outer planets, as we've already described. So wonderful in terms of being able to heal from a past wound, from a certain difficult life situation, and to restore the self with the help of the divine, Pisces. So pray about ways that you would like to be restored, to be healed, to be renewed. And this eclipse may very well come in to support you with that happening. Now, it is also the end of the road with a full moon eclipse, and so what that means is it's the end of the road with regard to some sort of personal identification. The first house is I am. I am a mother. I am an astrologer. I am a wife. I am a town planner. Whatever you identify yourself as, then that might be about to go through a change. Maybe if I am a wife, you might be about to go through a shift into I am divorced. Maybe if you are a mother, you might be about to go through a shift that says I am now an empty nester. Maybe if you are saying, I am a town planner, you're about to go through a shift where you become a business entrepreneur. So the idea of I am is about to go through some sort of new re-identification. Now, my friends on YouTube, if you would like to hear the extended interpretation of what is going on for your sign in greater depth, then why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family page? It's very affordable. In the description below, you'll find the link, and that's where there's going to be a 3-hour plus video exploring what this means for all signs and giving much more specific detail. And for all my Patreon members watching this, let's dive deeper. All right, moving along, we are going to put Pisces in the second house. So the eclipse is in the second house, which means that Aquarius will become the rising sign. 25 degrees, my friends, of Pisces is where this eclipse is forming, and it's affecting your second house in whole sign astrology on the 17th or 18th of September, depending where you are in the world. You can Google that to find out exactly where it's when it's happening for you. Now, this is the house that has to do with our value systems, what we consider important, what we treasure, what we can really want to uphold. And certainly with such an energy in your second house, you can expect changes to what you value. The things that you've always treasured might suddenly hold no meaning for you, and you might transfer your affections onto something that you never imagined in a million lifetimes you would consider valuable. Big changes in that regard. In fact, you might be reaching the end of the road with your valuing of something. Now, that can be how you value yourself, or it could be how you value, maybe you've had an old car in the shed for years and years, and you're like, yeah, I love that thing that belonged to my grandma. And you go out to the shed one day during this eclipse season, and you're like, you know what? I'm not really attached to that car anymore. Grandma's been gone for nearly 30 years now, and I've got this old thing gathering dust. I haven't driven it in 20 years. What am I hanging on to this for? So it can indicate, this eclipse, that you're reaching the end of the road with a car or with anything else that you thought was of value to you, and you decide, that's it, I need to get rid of it and I need to make way for something new. This car, for example, is taking up space, it's gathering dust, it's becoming, I haven't maintained it, and it's getting, full of spiders and run down, and who knows, it'll even start again. I think I need to let it go. So that kind of thing, we're letting something go, and we may even feel sad about this. Remember, I spoke about this in the introductory piece. So you might feel sad about whatever it is that you have valued in the past, but now it's come to the end of the road. Time to let it go. The good news, though, Aquarius, is that this is the house of your resources that you have managed to save and that you lean on. This is a house of hoarding, basically. And so any finances that you have been able to accumulate and invest in, and what might be happening as a result of this eclipse is that you're reaching the end of the road with some kind of financial situation or circumstance in order to allow in a new financial opportunity. And it might be an opportunity that you didn't see coming, that might suddenly surprise you by its entry into your life. So this could be maybe some kind of new money comes your way, a windfall perhaps comes into your life, or maybe something happens where you are now able to become more self-sufficient. Let's say you sell grandma's car out of the shed, for example, and you actually get way more for it than you ever imagined you would, because, hey, old cars are valuable now. And you're like, my gosh, I didn't expect that would bring so much money. What a new financial opportunity has now landed in my lap because grandma left me her car, which I've now sold. Now I have money. So you can see how this might work out. Many scenarios, many stories, but I'm presenting you with one to illustrate the point. So keep your eyes peeled for some sort of financial opportunity that might change your life circumstances and bring new things your way, new beginnings your way. Absolutely. Keep your eyes peeled. Now, speaking of eyes, the second house has to do with the face. The eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, the things that we can use very tactilely to taste, to touch, to see, to smell, and so on. And of course, this energy can sometimes bring about toxicity. And so you need to be very conscious about what you're eating, what you're smelling, even what you're listening to can be quite toxic if it's something not very nice and nasty and horrible. Keep your mind, the Bible says keep your mind filled with what is pure and lovely and good. And I encourage you to do the same, because you want to avoid toxicity in any circumstance, with people, situations, stuff that you consume, anything you consume through your ears, your nose, your mouth. So this is an energy that can sometimes bring about illnesses through our sensitivities. And of course, Pisces does have connections to toxicity. So be very conscious about what you put in your body and in your mind as well at this time. Now, like I said, there's an end of the road with a financial situation, and you may also be ending something in your life so that you can become more self-sufficient. Second house is self-sufficiency, developing our own resources. I said, it's about the money that we can gather that supports our journey in life. And so, let's say, I'm trying to think of a circumstance. Maybe, self-sufficiency to me conjures up images of being able to provide our own food. So you might say, that's it. I'm not going to the supermarket anymore because I'm sick of the genetically modified food that they are force-feeding humanity. I'm going to become more self-sufficient. So you're ending an association with Woolworths or Coles or whatever supermarket you go to, and you're choosing to become more self-sufficient. I'm using food as an example, but it could also be anywhere in life. It could be financially becoming more self-sufficient. So you're ending reliance on an outside organization for your income, for your job, for your money, and you're deciding, I'm going to go out as a consultant and do it my way, on my terms, and be self-sufficient with the money that I'm bringing in. It's up to me now, not being paid a salary. A couple of examples there, but the crux of it is that something is finishing up so that you can now rely more on yourself and your own capabilities in life to be more self-sufficient. And also, just to conclude that concept, there can be sudden changes that occur as a result of this eclipse into how and why you feel safe and secure in the world. So maybe you put your safety and your security in the fact that, the government will always do right by me, and the government will never do anything to harm me. And you might suddenly get a realization as a result of this eclipse that, hang on a minute, I don't think that really adds up. I don't think that's really the truth at all. And you shift how and why and in what mechanisms you feel safe and secure in the world, and where you put your trust. Because this axis, 8th house, 2nd house, is about trust issues. So there can be changes to your security paradigms now, and it'll usually come through your own conscious awareness, not because your circumstances have changed. Remember, this eclipse is all about the inner creates the outer. Your own understanding will create a different paradigm for safety and security and stability in your world. Now, my beautiful friends, if you would like to hear more about what is going to happen for you, and we're really going to break it down to the nitty gritty, why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family? There's a 3+ hour video there exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. Do join me there. The link's in the description below. But for all Patreon members, let's dive deeper. Thank you, Aquarius. Let's move along to Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun, Capricorn moon, people. Well, the energy of this eclipse is affecting your 3rd house, Capricorn, and this is actually where the eclipses of the next 2 years, are going to be felt, in your 3rd house and also in your 9th house too. But this week, for the eclipse occurring on the 17th or the 18th of September, depending where you are in the world, at 25 degrees of Pisces, the effect is through the 3rd house. And this eclipse could bring big changes to your point of view, your understanding of life, or your mental perspective on the world around you. So you can pretty much expect Capricorn to have some shifts in focus, shifts in where your mind goes. You might have some big intuitive hunches as well, and some psychic downloads. I would encourage you to trust them if that's the case. Listen to your instincts, because it's very likely, being that this is an eclipse in Pisces surrounded by these wise outer planets, that you are going to be led down the correct road. This is also the house of siblings, neighbors, relatives, and they might be changing their dynamic with you, particularly female siblings, neighbors, or relatives. There could be a loss of a sibling, neighbor, or relative. Like, for example, suddenly they don't want to talk to you anymore and you're like, what's going on here? There might be an altering of your connection and the type of relationship that you've got. Similarly, if a sister, a neighbor, or a relative is what you would consider to be a toxic person, you might be letting them go, releasing them out of your life and having nothing to do with them anymore. So that is something that can be happening as well. We can expect sudden changes, and there can be losses that occur with regard to these people. You know, loss of a connection, loss of a relationship, loss of a dynamic that you've had. Maybe you might be seeing yourself reach the end of the road, but don't worry. When we reach the end of a road with an eclipse like this one, we're actually making room in our life for something new. Maybe we're not going to talk to that neighbor ever again. But lo and behold, the neighbor on the other side of our property, we suddenly welcome in as a very wonderful ally in our life, or a support in our life, even though we might be quite sad about losing our friendship with the neighbor on the other side. So there's a loss of something. Something is leaving and we feel sad about it, but it is making way for a new beginning. There can be, this is the house of news, getting some sort of communication, an email, a phone call, some sort of message. And some of you might be getting some sort of surprising news in your life. Now, what that news is all about probably is very dependent on your own circumstances in life. But if you're expecting an email or a message or some kind of communication that's very important, this eclipse can bring it. So I hope that's good for everybody listening out there. But yes, definitely an energy of surprise news arriving in your life. Now, as I said, this is the end of the road that is forming part of this energy. So it's the end of the road with something in your life in order to make way for something new. Now, it may not be that it's an actual person that we're talking about. It could be a small business idea, a side hustle, a skill, or a talent. So maybe you have spent the last 6 years working every weekend at a market selling your homemade jams or something like that. And you just realize, I've kind of had enough of doing that. I think I'd rather spend my Saturday mornings doing something else. And so you change that skill, that talent, that craftsmanship, that small business, that side hustle, and the way you're doing it. Maybe you decide, I'm sick of jams, I'm going to do chutneys. Right, new direction, away we go with our chutneys. And so you change something that you're dealing with in terms of those things. So you might feel sad about saying goodbye to your little jam stall, but hey, chutneys is going to make you big and famous. Who knows? But end of the road with some kind of a small business idea, etc. And that is happening in order to make room for something new to come into your life. Just beware, this is an eclipse that can make us a little bit stressed. And so if you're feeling stressed about a small business, if you're feeling stressed about the way you're utilizing your skills and talents, it might be a good idea to take some time out for you, time out to retreat. Instead of working every Saturday, take the weekend off and go away for the weekend and have a break. You might come back all refreshed and ready to make the most of things. In ancient astrology, the third house was the natural house of the moon. So, it was the natural place of any sort of priestesses who were messengers of the gods. If the moon was located here in somebody's natal chart, it was considered you would be a priest or a priestess as a messenger of the gods. It meant that you had something important to share with humanity and people should listen to you if you were born with the moon in the third house in ancient times. So, with that in mind, this eclipse falling here, Capricorn, can indicate that somehow you have a message from the gods for humanity. So what is on your heart right now? I have a friend who is a Capricorn moon, and we've been chatting in the lead up to me doing this video about a message that the universe has really laid on her heart. And it's only in producing this right now in this moment for you that I'm realizing she's a Capricorn and she's got a message for humanity that she needs to put out there in the form of maybe a book or a video or something so that people can know the insight that she's been given. What about you, Capricorn? Have you got a message from the gods for humanity? Well, this eclipse is saying now is the time to do something about it, to do something with it, Don't shirk the responsibility that the universe has given you, Capricorn. We know Capricorns are very good at carrying their responsibilities and their duties. So use this time, this energy, as it's been given to you, as something very important to share with humanity. Now, I have so much more to say, my Capricornian friends, all about the extended interpretations for your sign and every other sign. So why not join me, the Guiding Star Patreon family? The link's in the description below. It's very affordable. There's a 3-hour video there plus, so not just 3 hours, 3 hours plus, exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. And now for my Patreon members, let's go a little deeper. Thank you, Capricorn. And we're moving right on to Sagittarius. Sagittarius rising, sun or moon people. This eclipse is happening at 25 degrees of Pisces, which is your 4th house. This is happening on the 17th or the 18th of September, depending on whereabouts you are in the world, when that will be occurring. Google it if you don't know exactly for your part of the world. And this is, as I've said, happening at 25 degrees. And this is where we can expect sudden changes. So Sagittarius, there might be sudden changes in the family. Maybe, you've had maybe a strained relationship with a family member over, the last few years or something. And then along comes the eclipse at this part of your chart that maybe brings you back together. But it is an eclipse that does speak about the end of the road, something finishing with a family dynamic, with a family situation in order to make way for the new. So you're kind of saying goodbye to something in the family in order for something new to begin. So, I don't know, maybe you have like what's happened with my family in recent times. Maybe, your family has decided to leave the family farm and your parents have decided to sell the farm and move into town. End of the road with something to do with family. And 4th house is also land and property, heritage, roots, lineage. End of the road for something to do with family and land and property or that sort of thing. And in order to make way for something new, you might feel sad about it, but deep down, it's the right thing. It needs to happen. We need to make this change. So we expect to see some changes with family, with land, with property. It's likely that it could happen in maybe one of those ways or maybe all those ways. This is the realm of the chart that is also very psychic and emotionally intuitive and sensitive. And this eclipse, as we've already ascertained, is a very psychically based one. So trust your intuition. Trust what you're feeling. If you feel, I need to ring my mother today, go and ring your mother. Trust your intuition for whatever it's telling you around this eclipse. It's particularly important when it comes to land and property and family matters too. Trust your gut. Like I said, it's the end of the road. Potentially, it could be the end of the road with the dynamic you have with a maternal figure. Remember, the moon is the energy here. The moon represents the mother. This is also the house of the mother. Some of you, Sagittarius people, might be moving away from a mother figure. You might be moving to the other side of the country. Or mum might be going into an elderly care home. There is some end of the road dynamic with a maternal figure in some way. There can be a changing of residences because of this eclipse. You might be changing homes, shifting where you live. End of an era with living in a certain place. End of an era perhaps with a garden, because gardens are seen through the 4th house as well. Or the end of an era with a domestic situation. Maybe you've been living, with 5 kids in the house, and you reach this eclipse comes along and 2 of the kids say, guess what, Mum and Dad, we're moving out into an apartment of our own together, my brother and sister, and away we go. And suddenly you've got 3 kids instead of 5. So the end of an era and a new beginning with a domestic situation. So lots of change. Now, I just want to encourage you, Sagittarius, if you're feeling stressed because of a family situation or a domestic situation or of something to do with real estate or land, do take care of yourself, because this eclipse can trigger high emotionality and high stress. Take time out, rest and relax in any way you can if you need to. This is an extremely sensitive eclipse energy. We also know that this eclipse energy has a lot to do with releasing toxic life situations and toxic people. I don't like talking this way because, I have a great respect for family, but if there has been any toxic relationships in your family, you might be letting them go right now. You might be releasing them, Sagittarius, and saying, don't need this in my life, I'm moving on. So end of an era with any toxic people in your family and toxic family situations or home situations. Literally, you might be living in a house riddled with mold, and you might have only just realized this under the eclipse. Neptune particularly has an influence on that kind of thing, and you might be like, that's it, I'm out of this house, I'm not renting this anymore because it's making me sick. So you literally are releasing a toxic situation out of your life. So that might be happening for some Sagittarius people. And I would just conclude this little section by saying, Sagittarius, that Neptune's involvement in this eclipse, which we talked about in the intro, can mean that there might be some issues if you have a home with gas, with oil, or with water. So do check on those things because the eclipse could trigger that for you guys, especially as this is happening in the realm of the chart that is to do with the home. Now, if you want to hear, Sagittarius, some more about what might be happening for your sign, and I do go quite in depth, there's so much more to say, then why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family? There's a 3-hour plus video there where we explore what is happening for every sign in greater depth. And for all my Patreon members, let's dive in deeper. Thank you, Sagittarius. Okay, Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun, and Scorpio moon people. This eclipse for you guys, being another fellow water sign, is falling in the 5th house. And this is happening at 25 degrees of Pisces on the 17th or the 18th of September, depending where you are in the world. Do your Google search to find out where it's happening, when and where it's happening for you. But this energy in the 5th house, my friends, means that there's going to be a changing dynamic for you with maybe a boyfriend or a girlfriend, if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a live-in lover. Sometimes this is an indication that there might be an ending of a relationship. And if it's reaching the end of the road, you might feel very sad about it, but you probably deep down you know it's the right thing that needs to happen. So some of you, not everybody, but some of you Scorpios might be going through an ending. And if that's so, the relationship was not part of your destiny and purpose, and it's probably ending to make space for the new. Remember what I talked about in the intro to this video, how this is about culmination, end of the road, full moon energy, with the North Node, new beginnings, purpose, destiny. You've got to trust the divine that it knows, in this case, what it's doing. So you might be feeling very sensitized emotionally because of this. Very sad, very emotional. That is quite okay. Be kind to yourself. Don't beat up on yourself if you're struggling with this. It's quite all right. If you need to take a pajama day and just have a bit of a cry and, a bit of a chocolate and, glass of wine kind of a day, then do it, Be kind if you're going through some difficulty because of this situation. Illness and stress can be playing a part at this time as well, usually related to something that's ending that we really had our heart involved in. 5th house is our heart, where our heart is. And of course, if something's ending and our heart was really in it, that can create a lot of stress and sometimes bring our immune system down a bit too. So again, take time out if you need to. There might be, in the positive, some unexpected opportunities as a result of this eclipse to show your natural creativity. You might be invited to exhibit your photographs at some art show. You might be, given the lead role in a theatre production. You might be given some kind of a, 15 minutes of fame, kind of celebrity experience. Some unexpected opportunity to showcase your talent for some reason or other. And of course, there's many scenarios for how that can take place. So wonderful, positive energy there with that component of the eclipse. Equally, I've talked about the end of potential boyfriend, girlfriend, live-in lover relationships, but this is also an energy that can bring in surprise romantic gestures. somebody, you know, they notice that you're sad at the office and you're feeling a bit down, and maybe this hot guy up at the accounting desk says, well, let me take you out for coffee and let's talk about what you're going through. And you're shocked. Okay, you go out for coffee and it turns out to be quite exciting, you know. People can be wearing, Scorpio, their heart on their sleeve right now. There can be sudden, new, potential romantic eventualities. Keep your heart open as much as you're able to allow the universe to take you where it needs you to go as a result of this eclipse energy. Now, this is also a house of children, and for many Scorpio people of certain age, you're probably reaching the end of the road with something to do with your children. For example, some children might be leaving home, or some children might be starting school, some children might be going to university. Just when we've got kids, life is ever evolving into new dynamics between parents and child. And so if you are a parent, Scorpio, this eclipse can trigger some sort of change with your children, or maybe your children are changing themselves. A new kind of personality emerges as your child moves through the various stages of growth. So that can also happen too. Now, some good news here for my Scorpio friends is that this is an energy that can bring some lucky breaks. The 5th house is lucky opportunities. It's the house of luck and good fortune. And so for some of you Scorpio people, luck might be crouching at the door as a result of this eclipse. And that could be lucky, you know, emotionally, could be lucky financially, could be lucky career-wise. The 5th house is the 8th house from the 10th, so it can mean career changes for some, but usually with this eclipse, it'll be career changes that are lucky opportunities. So lots of potential with this eclipse if you keep your eyes peeled, if you keep your vibration high, and you go with the flow of what this eclipse is trying to do and the destiny that it's trying to lead you to. Now, beautiful Scorpio, I have a lot more to say about how this eclipse may be affecting you. If you want to find out more, come and join me at the Guiding Star Patreon family. The link's in the description below. There's a 3-hour video there explaining more about how this eclipse will be affecting all signs. And for the Patreon members watching, let's go deeper now. And now it's time to move on to our lovely Librans. Libra rising, Libra sun, Libra moon people. We Librans are having this eclipse forming in our 6th house. Now, this is a difficult house for the eclipse to be forming. It's happening on the 17th or the 18th of September, depending on where you are in the world. Google it to find out exactly. And it's happening at 25 degrees of Pisces. So this is where we can expect to see some sudden changes occurring in the 6th house, Libra. So hopefully for the good, we could see some sudden changes with 6th house difficulties, like 6th house rules problems, debts, lack of education, inequality, court cases. People who are Libra and who are dealing with situations like that might see some sudden change because of what the eclipse brings in. The 6th house is also our work life, you know, our daily work. And I know years ago I had an eclipse on my sun in the 6th house, and I lost a job, but it propelled me into my astrology full time, and I just went hell for leather into astrology. Best thing that ever happened to me. Difficult financially at the time, but I'm so grateful for what that eclipse did to me. Now, I don't mean to scare you, Libra, but there could be sudden changes in your work life. Remember, though, this eclipse is with the North Node, designed to take you into your destiny, to move you more towards the purpose that your soul came in to experience. Trust the flow. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do, but that is the message of most eclipses. Now, some of you Libran people might find that you're in some sort of confrontational situation as a result of this eclipse. Maybe it could be a result of the frustrations you're feeling emotionally. Remember, this is a highly sensitized, emotional type eclipse. So you might need to protect your energy and protect your vibration now. Now, some of us might choose to sort of do the Piscean thing and sort of back away from conflict, or take time out from a conflicting, stressful situation. But whatever works for you, Libra, have a plan in place. How are you going to deal with like a low vibrational energy event that might occur. How are you going to protect your energy? How are you going to keep stress at bay? Have some thoughts in the back of your mind for how you can keep your balance in preparation for this eclipse. The good news is that this eclipse is all about something reaching the end of the road and leaving now in order to make way for the new that wants to come in. And this is a house of problems. This is a house of health issues, court cases, like I said, conflict. It could well be that this is the end of the line for some of these yucky situations in life. End of the line for a debt, end of the line for a conflict, end of the line for a health issue. So what is it that you've been dealing with over the last year or so, Libra, that potentially has been a problem that potentially could reach the end of the line? Well, you're unlikely to feel too sad about a problem leaving, but certainly there is this potential to make way for a new beginning. End of the road with some conflict, end of the road with some disadvantage, like I've already described, or some health issue. There could also be, for some of you Librans, a change in circumstances that you experience with a family pet or an animal. So do make sure that you're feeding your pets healthy food, walking them regularly, giving them the attention that they need. Take care of your pets under this eclipse energy, because this is the house of our domestic animals, and we love and cherish our domestic animals. Do take care of your body as well. Pisces, where this is occurring, rules the feet. So don't overburden your feet. You know, we tend to disregard our feet so much and forget about our feet. But they're the most important almost part of our body. Like, they carry us where we need to go. And, we put them in smelly shoes and we don't sort of give them all the loving attention in the shower that the rest of our body gets, Please take care of your feet, Libra, at this time. Get that pedicure, get that reflexology appointment done, have that foot massage, whatever it is. Take care of your feet. Now, also, this is an energy, this eclipse has a very strong energy of releasing toxic life situations and toxic people. This is a house that is connected to toxicity, particularly illnesses that come from toxic foods, toxic medications, toxic circumstances, and high stress. So be aware of this. Try and avoid any toxic situations and release them as best you can. If you're having digestive issues, for example, Libra, often digestive issues are metaphysically associated with unforgiveness. So is there somebody that you need to forgive and release and let go of that toxic energy of unforgiveness in your life? You might find 6th house is digestion, that your digestion is helped and healed through releasing the toxicity of unforgiveness in your life. So take a deep psychological look at, where have you got guilt? Where have you got shame? Where have you got unforgiveness? And where can you deal with those things so that ultimately you can release any toxicity in your body and ultimately heal your body through doing so. Now, Libra, I have so much more to share about this eclipse with you. Why not join me at the Guiding Star Patreon family? There's a 3-hour plus video there exploring in depth what this eclipse will mean for all signs. I do hope I see you there, Libra. Now for all my Patreon members, we're going to go deeper into this. Thank you, Libra. All right, Virgo rising, Virgo sun, Virgo moon people. Well, this eclipse for Virgo people is falling in the 7th house, Pisces. And this is happening on the 17th or the 18th of September, depending on where you are in the world. Google it if you want to know when for your part of the world. And it's happening at 25 degrees of Pisces here, which we talked about in the introduction. Now, this is the realm of the chart where you might be experiencing some sudden changes, Virgo. Particularly, this is the relationship axis and this is the committed relationship house. Some of you Virgo people might be seeing a shift in dynamic with a relationship. For some of you, it might mean the end of the road with a relationship, and this will usually be instigated by the other person, not you. So if that is the case, need to remember that, if that is being instigated by a business partner or a marriage partner, or some audience member or something like that who's going the other way, we might feel sad about it. In fact, this energy of this eclipse would say that yes, we will feel sad about it, but keep in mind, this is to take you into your destiny. Ultimately, it is going to be for the best. You mightn't realize it right now, and that might be, sort of very hard words to hear at this point. But for some of you listening to this, know that it is making way for a brand new beginning that is more in alignment with your soul's destiny. So that's one thing that can happen for some of you who have been in really healthy, dynamic relationships. It's not going to spell the end of the relationship. What it will do is make a change to the relationship. Some of you might be moving into a higher experience and expression of love. You've got Neptune involved with this eclipse, and that is actually a soulmate energy, a recognition of a soulmate. So for some of you Virgo people, you might be experiencing a deeper, more soul connection with the partner. So it all depends on where you've been at in the lead up to the eclipse. Has your relationship been a mess? More likely that it might come to an end. If your relationship has been bubbling along very nicely, thank you very much, then it might go to a deeper level as a result of this eclipse. Eclipses are very difficult to predict, but usually the effect on the relationship axis will mean a change to relationship based on where you've been at with the relationship prior to the eclipse occurring. So relationships that have been strained might break apart under this influence. You will have been already walking on eggshells. Is this really the relationship for you if that's the case? If you're feeling happiness in your relationship, it's going to go deep. For those of you who are single listening to this, this is an energy that can indicate suddenly falling in love with someone new. And because of the involvement of Neptune, it might mean it's a soulmate connection, a soul recognition, a soul family member that you fall in love with. Now, of course, there needs to be more than just an eclipse triggering a new love coming into life. If you've had a reading with me on relationship and when will love come, you'll know that it takes much more than just one triggering event like this to bring something about. But this is a strong triggering. And if you've got other things unfolding in your chart at the same time, it's looking good, my friend, for love to enter into your life. Now, some of you might be dealing with contractual situations, with lawyers, with business negotiations, and all of those things do tie into seventh house themes. Remember, this eclipse is all about the end of the road with something in order to make way for a new beginning. And so if you've been in a court case, if you've been dealing with lawyers, if you've been in sort of business negotiations, you might be getting to the end of the line with it. Finishing that court case, never having to see that lawyer again, concluding a business deal. In that case, it's very good that this eclipse is activating a shift in that energy. Again, and I've mentioned this a number of times, but if any of those circumstances are causing you to feel stressed, this is an eclipse that does pertain to having high emotional strain. Do take time out. Do remember to have a rest if you need to, and chill in whatever way suits you best. This is, like I said, an extremely sensitive eclipse, so there can be triggering of emotions from other people. So other people do something, say something that really pushes your buttons now. Know that, it's hard to deal with those things, but if you're forewarned, forearmed, you can be like, okay, it's just the eclipse energy. I'm going to take the rest of the afternoon off and just go and chill with a glass of wine and a block of chocolate or something. Now, the final thing I want to say is that this eclipse is very much associated with the releasing of toxic life situations and toxic people. So what does that mean? When it's falling in the house of the others, it means that there might be some toxic people, might be some clients, might be some of your audience, might be a business partnership. For some of you, it might be a marriage partnership, but there's toxicity in your relationships that is, you just had enough. You're going to need to actively put boundaries in place. This is Pisces energy after all. It's not that easy to put boundaries with other people in place when you've got Pisces energy in the seventh house. but you're going to need to, because this toxicity is something you can't stand any longer, Virgo. You've got to draw the line and say, I'm not going to put up with their silent treatment anymore. I'm not going to put up with their abuse anymore. I'm not going to go there anymore. I have to draw the line. And so that this eclipse might give you the momentum, the energy that you need to do so. Worst case scenario, it could give you a situation or a circumstance in where you have to do that, even though you're not very inclined to have to take that stand. Be aware of that, Virgo, and know that if you do put a boundary in place, it's actually going to be for the best ultimately. Now, I have so much more to say about this eclipse for my Virgo family. If you'd like to hear the extended interpretation for your sign, then why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family? There's a 3-hour plus video there exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. And if you're a Patreon member watching right now, it's time to go deeper with Virgo. Thank you, my very wonderful Virgos. Now, lovely Leo. Thank you, Leo. We are seeing the eclipse exhibiting and playing out here in the, what are we, the 8th house for Leo people. This is where the eclipse is exhibiting through the 17th or the 18th of September, depending where you are in the world. Google it if you want to find out the exact time in your place of the world. And it's happening at 25 degrees of Pisces. And this, my friends, is where we can expect to see sudden changes in our life. And I mean sudden, because this eclipse brings sudden changes, and the 8th house brings sudden changes. Big life turns around. Get ready, Leo. This is an eclipse where you are really reaching the end of the road, and life is going to turn around 180 degrees and make a whole new beginning, especially if you're having anything triggered by this eclipse. So be very forewarned and forearmed. Now, one thing that can happen for my Leo friends with this is that you might get amazing intuitive downloads that happen now. Goosebump moments, premonitions, prophetic influences, and just strong inner knowing. Listen to your gut, trust it, and go where it's leading you. No doubts now. This is an eclipse that really wants to take you further into your destiny. Now, worst case scenario, it could bring quite a crisis event into your life, but because of this highly intuitive nature of this eclipse, you're going to know what to do. You're going to know how to handle it. You're going to know what decision to make. As long as you trust yourself, this is the axis of trust after all. As long as you trust yourself, Leo, you will get there in the end. And remember, this minor grand trine between the outer planets is holding space for the whole process. Watching over, angels guarding you to make the right choices and the right moves now, because big changes are coming for Leos. This is a huge season of change, rebirth, and regeneration for my fellow Leo lovers out there. Your life is about to redirection in quite a remarkable way. Remember, it's the end of the line for one state of being and the beginning of the new Leo. Let's say you've been really, I'm going to use a good scenario here. Let's say that you have been really struggling with maybe a health issue or a situation of debt or something like that. And then along comes the eclipse in the 8th house. Remember, 8th house is financial windfalls. 8th house also is a house of healing. There's 2 examples here. Along comes this eclipse and you get an inheritance. And with it, you pay off your debts and you're set free. Well, isn't that a life change? Suddenly being debt-free, you can go and live the life you want. You're not obligated any longer. That is a big life change. Or maybe you receive some healing. Somebody tells you, you go and see that hormone specialist, or go and book into that acupuncture therapist. They'll fix you right up. You go and do that and your health issues are all gone. You're healed. You're well again. That's the kind of big 180-degree turnaround that this eclipse can do for you in the 8th house. Big season of change and rebirth. Now, this is a very sensitive eclipse. It's emotionally sensitive. And this is quite an, it's not on the surface an emotionally sensitive house. It looks like we have power under control, 8th house energy. But underneath the surface, my God, this is the most intense emotional house, the 8th house. So this eclipse can bring a lot of big emotionality. You know, if you're highly emotionally sensitive as it is, Leo, hang on to your hat. You ain't seen nothing yet. You're probably already feeling into this, you know, Leo, because we've been in this eclipse season since the 5th of September. So you're probably already noticing you might be highly emotional. You'll need to really ride this out as best you can. I do want to just mention that this is an eclipse that can trigger illness and stress. And when you're dealing with crisis and big life change and redirectioning, that can cause a lot of stress. So, or crisis, which is also an 8th house energy. So I just encourage you to rest if you need to, take time out, take a break, take a holiday, go and see, you know, some 8th house practitioner, an astrologer, a psychic, a Reiki healer, an acupuncturist, a psychologist. If you need to see some 8th house type practitioner to help you deal with stress, then do it under this energy. It's a good time too. Now, another thing that I can tell you about this eclipse is that apart from being sensitive, it's about releasing toxic life situations and toxic people. Now, particularly pertaining to the 8th house, it's speaking to toxic life situations. If you are in like a job and everybody's, you know, whispering behind your back and you feel like so unconfident in that workplace because everybody is telling secrets, it's a house of secrets. It's time to walk away from that as a result of this eclipse. If you are in a workplace and you feel like, hang on, this feels a little bit criminal, like what we're doing is underhanded, this is the house of criminality, that's a toxic place to be working. If you even for a moment think, I think I'm in like a sinister kind of a role here, I'm not thinking everything's above board, then this eclipse can bring about an ending of that as you release and let go of that toxic workplace, life situation, whatever the case may be. So there is an energy of releasing something and letting go of something, but I want you to know, especially if this is relating to a career situation, the 8th house is 11 houses from the 10th. If you have to let go of a toxic career or workplace situation, or any situation for that matter, whatever toxic situation you're letting go of, 11 houses from the 10th does speak to being able to land on your feet again afterwards, to pull yourself up by the bootstraps, so to speak, but to really get to a better place after all, to build yourself back better, if I want to use that phrase. This is a powerful combination for making life changes that lead to a better situation. So that's what I'm seeing for my lovely Leos. But you know something? I've got so much more to say about this placement for my Leo friends. Why not join me at the Guiding Star Patreon family, where there is a big whopping 3-hour plus video waiting to be explored in greater depth for all signs. The link's in the description if you want to see me there. Now, for all my Patreon members who are here, it's time to go deeper with Leo. Well, thank you, my beautiful Leos. Now, we are all the way to Cancer, getting towards the end of the journey, and we are seeing the full moon eclipse in Pisces occurring in the 9th house. That wants to go for a walk, so I'll just hold it nice and still. My Cancer rising sun or moon people, this eclipse is occurring on the 17th of the 18th of September, depending where you are in the world. Do Google it if you want to find exactly where it is happening or what time it's happening for you. And it's happening at 25 degrees of Pisces, and this is happening in the 9th house. What it's speaking of, Cancer, is that you are reaching the end of the road, a culmination, something that you might even be sad to say goodbye to, some old belief system. Probably a belief system that you've outgrown, or a religious association even that you've decided is no longer for you. It's time to broaden your horizons, your ethics and your morals, and you're going to move into something else. End of the road with 9th house belief systems. And you might feel a bit sad about that, saying goodbye to the people that you aligned with once upon a time that you no longer align with anymore can be really confronting, Cancer. But that's this energy. There might, actually, to tell you the truth, I've had an experience like that just gone within this eclipse season as well, and could well be from this influence. I do have 3 planets in Cancer after all. So definitely time to broaden your horizons and to say goodbye to old ties that you might have had over certain belief systems that you no longer carry. There could be a connection to another culture that's coming to a conclusion now. That could mean maybe you've moved to another country and you've had to sort of say goodbye to your old country and its cultural patterns and food and celebrations and what have you as you immerse yourself in another new country. The ninth house has to do with visas and immigration, of course. So, your process of immigration, waiting to get a visa, immigrating, and all the paperwork you got to do around that might be coming to a conclusion. And that's probably some good news to those Cancers out there who've been dealing with this sort of thing. This eclipse can bring the culmination of that. Yay. But connection to a previous culture might be concluding, and that can be a little bit sad as you walk away from maybe a culture that you grew up in or you were immersed in for a time, and now it's come to an end. This can also represent leaving behind, remember it's a culminating full moon energy, leaving behind a relationship with a teacher or some sort of inspirational figure in your life, or even maybe a father figure or a fatherly figure that you're saying goodbye to. Not because they're going to pass away or anything, but just because you're moving away from that teaching or that inspirational idea or that father's energy. Maybe you're going to the other side of the country and not physically around any longer. Changes that this eclipse can bring to all these things. Now, it is a highly sensitive eclipse, and this is a house of high intuition. So trust your intuitive hunches, trust your thought processes as well. It's just likely that you're going to be getting some sort of divine guidance out of this eclipse, and it's all to help lead you into your greater purpose and your greater destiny. Listen to what your heart is telling you. This is an energy of having extremely sensitive emotions. And, pay attention. What is your body trying to tell you through your sensitivities? What is your body trying to tell you through, that feeling that you've got? Some of you might be falling in love, Cancer, with somebody from a different culture that might come about because of this energy and its association with Neptune, which can lead you to encounter someone from a soul tribe member. So it could be someone you fall in love with, or it could be just, a soul tribe member. But it's likely to be divinely inspired, and they are likely to be from a foreign place, if that is the case. So if you're traveling under this eclipse energy or during this eclipse season, you might encounter a soulmate or someone from your soul tribe. That said, sometimes this eclipse energy does have an association with a need to release toxic life situations and toxic people. So if you've been part of a toxic culture, toxic country, it might well be time to get out of there. Bust a move and get on out. If you've been associating with somebody who has previously, let's say, been a source of inspiration to you, a benefactor, a teacher, ninth house energy, but it's become toxic, then it's time to say goodbye to that now too, and draw a line in the sand and have some boundaries. So, this eclipse can bring about some sort of travel or restlessness as well. It might be that you are actually looking for, a new place to set up home, new place to call your own, new country even. And this eclipse can reveal to you where it is you're meant to be, where it is the soul longs to go to. So pay attention again for those things. Cancer, I've got so much more to tell you about what this eclipse is doing, but you'll need to join me at the Guiding Star Patreon family to hear all about it. There's a 3-hour plus video there exploring in great depth what this eclipse means for all signs. And now for my Patreon members, let's dive deeper. We move now to Gemini, Gemini rising, Gemini sun, or Gemini moon people. The energy of this eclipse is expressing through your 10th house, Gemini, and this is happening on the 17th or the 18th of September. We've got the full moon occurring. You can Google it for the exact time in your part of the world when this is happening, and it's happening at 25 degrees of Pisces. This eclipse can bring sudden changes to the 10th house, and of course the 10th house is related to our worldly achievements. You can have a big change in what you're doing to achieve in the world. Something might be reaching the end of the road regarding what your reputation is, what you're known for, and that if that happens, you might feel a bit sad about the change, sad about what is occurring, but it's happening to make way for a new beginning. It's happening to make way for some fresh start in life. So trust the process, my friends, even though it can be quite a change. This is the parental axis, the axis of mum and dad in Western astrology. And so an eclipse like this can bring change into the life of one of your parents, your father or your mother. This is usually the house of the father in Western astrology. So there might be some changes. Your father-in-law might be quite stressed at this time, or might feel very sad about something. Something might be changing in his world. Something might be leaving his life. So don't be hesitant. Reach out and check in with dad or mum for that matter and make sure they're doing okay. Also, this is the house of our mother-in-law. So if you are somebody who has a mother-in-law, check in with your mother-in-law too. She might be feeling a heightened level of emotion and very sensitive. She might be feeling very sad about something ending in her life. Pardon me. So don't be afraid to reach out and be a good daughter or son-in-law in that case as well. Potentially, remember Luna, the moon here, represents significant women or female authority figures, and it's likely that some woman in a position of authority might be doing something regarding your worldly success and recognition. So it could be in the positive, that could be sort of catapulting you into greater success, or, we spoke about this in the introduction, they could be being a bit of a problem for your worldly success and recognition, but it's likely to come from some woman in a position of authority. Be aware of that either way. Also, this is an eclipse that has to do with releasing toxic people out of our lives, toxic energy out of our lives. And if there is a woman in a position of authority who is being toxic in your life, it's time to draw the line. This eclipse is going to cause you to maybe have an event or an experience where you say, I can't handle it anymore. That's it. I'm done. And you draw a line in the sand about that particular person in a position of authority. Now, sometimes this eclipse can generate a new position of leadership for you, an opportunity to step up the ladder, an opportunity for you to move into a promotion. But remember, it's a culminating energy, meaning that something needs to end in order for this to happen. It's the end of the line with one way of doing career and one way of obtaining success. Sometimes this eclipse can mean for some people, especially as it's conjunct with Neptune, that you're about to discover the career of your dreams. And I do hope that's the case for everybody watching Gemini reading today. What else? Heightened sensitivity, my friends. Heightened sensitivity is a very sensitive eclipse energy, and you might be very sensitive to your public reputation right now and to the critiques of those in authority over you. You might feel very wounded if you hear negative things. Equally, you might find that people gossiping about you might be for the positive and can really boost you. But the bottom line is, watch out for difficult news about your reputation under this eclipse energy. Watch out for gossip, and watch out for toxic conversation that you need to put the kibosh on. This is an energy of high sensitivity, and this is a house of gossip. So be very, very careful, forewarned, forearmed about that. Also, I just want to say, if you are a workaholic Gemini, if you are really burning the candle at both ends, this eclipse can mean stress and illness from trying to do too much career-wise. Try and make sure that your life is balanced now, and take time out and rest and have some holiday time if you need to, if work has just been too overwhelming and too full of pressure. Now, Gemini, I've got so much more to say about what this eclipse is doing for you. why not join me at the Guiding Star Patreon family? There's a big 3-hour plus video there exploring what this eclipse actually is doing for all signs in greater depth. And if you're a Patreon member watching, now's the time to go deeper with Gemini. Alrighty, thank you, Gemini. Okay, Taurus, I know you're hanging in there for your interpretation. And for you guys, the eclipse is landing in the 11th house. This eclipse is happening on the 17th or the 18th of September, depending where you are in the world. Google it to find out where it's happening for you, where you are in the world. And it's happening at 25 degrees of Pisces. The 11th house is where you might see some sudden changes and experience the energy of this eclipse playing out. So what it could indicate is that there are some big changes about to happen with your friendship circles. Some friends might be leaving your life now, and that might make you feel a bit sad. But don't fret if you can manage it, because this is creating energetic space for new friends to come into your life and to create new networks, new connections that might be with you for the long term. This might be the end of the line with regard to those things, and it can also be the end of the line with regard to some of the goals that you've set in the past, maybe because you finally achieved them, or maybe because they no longer float your boat. You might be throwing them out now and maybe creating a whole new set of ambitions based on new inspirations that the eclipse brings in, new longings in your heart for what you want to achieve. Might even be some sort of intuitive download about where to direct your energy next. Very exciting. This energy, this eclipse energy, could also indicate a change or an end of the line in some way with an older sibling. So maybe an older sibling is, moving to the other side of the country or getting a new job somewhere, and they're going to be too busy to see you anymore. But also this is an energy of releasing toxicity out of our life. And of course, this is the house of the older sibling. If you have an older sibling and they haven't been very kind to you, they haven't been very good to you, then this eclipse can indicate it's time to draw a line in the sand. No more. That's enough. Some of you might be experiencing that as a result of the eclipse. Also with friends. If you've got any friends that have just been really toxic and negative to be around, this eclipse says it's time to say goodbye to that, time to end that, time to, not put up with that any longer. So only you know if that's applicable to you, but some of you may very well be experiencing that. I do feel for many Taurus people, you will encounter the right people at the right time as a result of this eclipse. And it'll probably be a woman who'll help you to perhaps achieve your goals and dreams now. Move towards more gainfulness in your life. Maybe giving you an opportunity. Maybe you're a hairdresser and, you've been working and, hiring a chair at somebody's salon and doing your thing every, day after day. And along comes a woman who says, look, I've got this hair studio. It's all yours if you want it. I haven't got any hairdressers working there at the moment and it's just going to waste. So it's yours. Go for it. Put up any signage that you like. Call it what you want. But rent it. It's yours. And so you move out from working for someone else and establish your own salon through the generosity and benevolence of some particular woman who shows up. So this is what I mean. Some goal or dream can be fulfilled by the presence of Luna here, a woman coming in. And you might throw out an old ambition and embrace a whole new set of ambitions and inspirations for life because of this. Very exciting, really. This is a house of gainfulness. And what you might stand to gain, Taurus, from this eclipse could be never-endingly fascinating. You may already know this particular person who's going to support you, but sometimes we have new people come in as a result of this eclipse and bring some sort of surprisingly fruitful outcome for us. Very exciting. That said, I have mentioned letting go of some toxic people out of our lives. That said, this is also an eclipse that can make you highly sensitive to the things that friends, networks, and other people are doing. So, if that's the case, and you're feeling sensitized by maybe what other people are saying or some toxic situation with friends or an older sibling, be forewarned, forearmed, And if you're feeling stressed by this, then by all means, take time out. You have my permission, not that you need it, to have a pajama day, to sort of, go to the day spa or go, take a trip in the car and just get away for a while from whatever toxic situation might be presenting itself under this eclipse. Lots of things that can be happening from this eclipse, my beautiful Taurus friends. But I have so much more to tell you about what this eclipse might be doing for you and what is happening for your sign. So why not join me at the Guiding Star Patreon family? There's a 3-hour plus video waiting there for you to explore in depth what is the meaning of this eclipse for your sign, Taurus, and all others as well. And now for Patreon members who are with me on this, it's time to go deeper with Taurus. And last but not least, waiting till the end, something they don't usually do, is Aries. Aries rising, sun or moon. We are talking about the eclipse falling in your 12th house at 25 degrees of Pisces. This is happening on the 17th or the 18th of September, depending where you are in the world. And I do encourage you to Google it and find out just when it's happening for you in your part of the world. Oh, Aries, hang on to your hat. This eclipse is going to bring you massive psychic downloads that could really blow your mind. Make sure you've got a pen and paper beside the bed to write down whatever comes through in your dreams. Don't forget it. This is an energy that is highly prophetic. Don't discount anything that comes through now. Even the most mundane dream can actually have quite a high level of psychic guidance in it. Dreams, also your day visions, your daydreaming. If you find yourself, Aries, staring out the window as you sip your cup of tea, lost in your thoughts in a bit of a trance state, and you come back with a bit of a jolt, what were you thinking about? Where were your thoughts going? There is a message in it that you need to know about. Watch where your mind goes. This energy, like I said, is full of guidance, this eclipse. Full of wisdom from your dreams and visioning. Now, it is an eclipse that is culminating, a full moon, and it's with the North Node, meaning it's the end of the line for something and something new is beginning. But you might be a bit sad about what is leaving. And this is the house that has to do with our past, with our childhood perhaps, our old habits, our old beliefs, our old behaviors, that we are now letting go of. Some of those things we might be sad to see, say goodbye to. But for many of you Aries people, there will be an old childhood trauma or some sort of psychological wound that you're saying goodbye to now that is reaching the end of the line. And you'll be waving goodbye to that without a care in the world. Goodbye, you old hurt, wound, guilt, shame, whatever. Time to say sayonara to that. And in doing so, you're actually welcoming in some space for new joy, new energy, new emotion to enter in. Now, this is a highly emotional new moon, absolutely. So pay attention to your sensitivities and to your emotional reactions to things. They're telling you something. There's messages in those things. But it is a very powerful time for letting go, either consciously or unconsciously. You might find 6 months down the track from this eclipse, you look back and go, I don't feel guilty anymore. I don't feel shame anymore. I'm free. Celebrate if that's the case. But it's a powerful eclipse for releasing. Pisces is all about dissolving things out of life, our lives. It's the last sign of the zodiac. The 12th house is also about doing the same thing. And this eclipse is all about letting go of toxic memories, toxic past, experiences. And also letting go of toxic people from our past, forgetting those memories, giving them over to the divine, saying, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Really, this is a powerful time for healing with this eclipse from the past, healing past wounds. Do be careful of illnesses. This is an energy where there might be some illness that crops up as you purge and release and dissolve those old toxicities. And if you're feeling stressed about confronting or facing the past, or maybe somebody from the past, then, get some support, surround yourself with people who care about you to help you do so. Or if you need to take time out and rest and retreat, have some meditation time, have some alone time, then this is definitely an eclipse where you should do that. Absolutely. You might need to rest, you might need to get more sleep in order to cope with these heightened energies that are unfolding. So you can escape in healthy ways, have a little holiday, go to the day spa, go to the movies, have a pajama day at home, whatever works. Try and avoid any sort of escapist mechanisms that are only going to harm you in the long run, getting drunk, pigging out like a bulimic on chocolate or food or stash or whatever. Ways that we escape the reality that's harsh. Do it in ways that support you, not bring you down in any way. For some people, on a different topic, this eclipse can actually bring some miraculous healing. And I'm not just talking about psychological wounds healing, but it could be physical healing. The divine touches your life in some way and you are never the same. The conjunction with Neptune does speak to miracles occurring. The miraculous. Suddenly, you never thought you'd overcome something. Maybe you walked with a limp all your life and along comes this eclipse and your feet are healed and you're running like the best of them. Miraculous. These things do happen, There's many, many stories in history of miraculous healings occurring. And for Aries people, this eclipse could trigger such things. Pray, communicate with the divine. They're right there, waiting to hear from you, wanting to know what you want them to do as a result of this eclipse's energy activating your 12th house. It is a powerful combination. And you know what, Aries? I have so much more to tell you about this eclipse and what it might be doing for you. Why not join me at the the Guiding Star Patreon family? Over there, I have a 3-hour plus video exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. The link's in the description below. And now, for my Patreon members who are here, let's go deeper with Aries. So my friends, we are at the end of our journey with the zodiac and this eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces. Thank you for being here. And don't forget, in 2 weeks' time, there'll be another eclipse. I'll join you for that one.